What about the traumas that we collect within the Kundalini process? Are they cleared immediately, or do they get first stored in us to be cleared afterwards? Very interesting question. I can give some perspectives, but this is a tricky one, because I know for some, their Kundalini awakening and the subsequent experiences that follow have been traumatic. They end up in the hospital. They end up, you know, having difficulty in relationships. All of this is traumatic. And it's around this Kundalini process, which is supposed to be healing us of our prior trauma. So I want to recognize that for some, spiritual awakening, spiritual emergency is quite literally an emergency. It's traumatic, it's difficult. It causes a lot of reluctance to move forward on this journey because people don't want to revisit, periods where they were in crisis. So I recognize that it's very difficult. It's very difficult. I'm doing my best here to prevent people from being traumatized through this process. I'm doing my best. So I want to lead with that. But then I want to offer a higher perspective here. Perhaps the trauma that you experienced through your awakening process was meaningful in that it's just brought up older stuff that you were always carrying anyway. Perhaps, maybe from a previous lifetime. Maybe the difficulty that you experienced through your spiritual emergency, it's like echoing prior difficulty that you experienced through childhood, through later years in life. And so this is why it's been traumatic, because ultimately it actually is healing. The trauma from the Kundalini awakening process and the emergency brought up older trauma as well with it. So if you can address whatever's come up now with love, with patience, with the recognition that, yeah, it's been a difficult journey, be there for yourself, hold yourself, then you can heal all of the prior experience that you brought to the table once this awakening began. Whether it's from previous lifetimes or not, I'm not sure. For example, this is an exaggerated example, but for some, it might be reality. You know, there's a wound called a witch wound. The idea is that some of us have brought in from previous lifetimes the wound of persecution for being someone on a spiritual path. It's called a witch wound because it's referring to the witch burnings, right? Some would say that these witches that were burned, I think, whatever, the Middle Ages or something, 1800s maybe, I don't know, that they were spiritual. And people thought, oh my God, these people are demonic, they're possessed, we have to burn them at the stake. And so now they have this trauma associated with their own spirituality. So they come into this life, they have a Kundalini awakening, and they're still carrying that witch wound. And then they're also once again persecuted. They're told you're crazy, you're going to go to a sort of hospital, you're going to get locked up, family's going to doubt you, you may lose your job. It's going to be traumatic. So through this awakening now, not only are they healing the stuff that they experienced in this life, the crisis, but they're also healing the stuff from prior lifetimes, for example, being burned at the stake. So if you can address all of this, it may be meaningful, it may be helpful, and we can use this difficult, traumatic Kundalini awakening experience as a blessing in the bigger picture. Now, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier, because I know it's a very sensitive topic, and I'm not here to invalidate anyone's pain. I know that some people, they have the worst experience of their life is the trauma associated with their awakening. And I hope that things do begin to make sense for you, and clarity comes, because I know it's a very difficult path for some. And the more that we talk about it, the more that we can all make the awakening itself less traumatic, so that we can deal with all the other stuff that we've got, because we've all got pain, we've all got trauma. We don't need to make the healing process traumatic as well. Okay.